Back in the 80s and 90s, there was a fierce debate. Who is the better captain? Is it Picard or is it Kirk? Even Weird Al added to the argument with his White and Nerdy song. I didn't get into that debate. I liked that there was more Star Trek to watch. Who's the captain didn't really matter too much to me. I was simply happy that there was more sci-fi on TV. It wasn't just about sci-fi though. The stories were life parables. These adventures took place in a mostly utopian future, where you got along with your coworkers. That is the essence of Star Trek. When you take away the alien attacks and the alien romance, it's a highly professional office job in space. This has inspired so many people to choose careers in science, engineering, and exploring. So, why hasn't that popularity exploded onto Star Trek Legends? On paper, it seems like a dream Star Trek game. You take the most popular characters in their prime across 55 years of TV shows and movies, and then you put them together. And yet, the reviews were not so great. That's because the game had a rough launch. There were really bad bugs. That soured a lot of people, who then moved on to other Apple Arcade games, or simply canceled the subscription service entirely. My experience with Star Trek Legends was different. My Apple TV 2021 included a 3-month subscription to Apple Arcade, so I didn't start playing until somewhat later. I was really excited to try out the new Star Trek game, and it was good. That's because the developers fixed the major problems. Oh sure, they introduced new features with new problems, but those problems are getting fixed too. What I really found surprising is how much I enjoyed a turn-based role-playing game. I haven't played a game like that since Final Fantasy VII. But here, it just works. Basically, you pick your 4 favorite characters, and then you go on missions. At the time this video was created, there are 72 characters to choose from. That creates a lot of possibilities. These characters are divided into 5 professions: command, medical, science, engineering, and security. While I avoided the Kirk vs. Picard debate for decades, this game forced me to choose my favorite captain. The decision actually has a purpose here. There's a reason for the debate. So, who's my favorite captain? Well, that answer is later in the video. It's complicated. For now, let's go through the game mechanics. Even though the game is basically your 4 favorite crew fighting other teams, there are several different themes. Let's look at the main one first, missions. Basically, there are 6 main episodes with 6 parts each. Your crew beams to a location where the main story unfolds. It's a good story, but I don't want to ruin it for you. I will say this, Worf and Leonard McCoy join the team right away. They're a great combo. Not only do their skills complement each other, there's nice dialogue between the two of them. It's as if you're watching a new Star Trek TV show. That's one of the things I most like about this game. The franchise is respected. The history of Star Trek is presented well. You can see it in the crew section. There are characters from the original series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, and more. You add new crew mainly through the summon section. By collecting orbs, you can unlock new characters. Not only are they divided by 5 different professions, they are ranked in 5 different categories: common, rare, very rare, epic, and legendary. That means all of the characters are not created equal. Some of them are clearly way better than others. That's why you might be tempted to spend more orbs on unlocking that specific character, but that might be limiting in the long run. I was constantly trying to unlock Kirk, dropping 75 orbs in command, but this meant I had less orbs for other characters. If you're planning to unlock all of the characters, and eventually level up all of them, then don't worry about unlocking a specific character. With Kirk, he was especially difficult to get. He didn't unlock until I cleared the first 6 episodes of the storyline, 3 times over. The storyline continues after episode 6, but I needed to clear the first 6 parts, on expert level, to get Kirk. This game really drags out the content. This is a good thing and a bad thing. What's good is that it gives you a reason to keep playing. The bad is that it slows down the pace of the game. But if you're lucky, there might be a special event to unlock your favorite character. Kirk was also available through the Faction Wars event. You can find these events in the Events section, or in the Event Operations tab of the Operations section. You can also see what's new in the News section. That's where upcoming events are announced. If you're wondering why a green or red dot appears on one of these sections, that's because something new is available. It requires your attention. With the Crew section, it's usually a power-up. Events can only be run a specific number of times in a 24-hour period. I call this the daily chores. It does have a grinding feeling to it, but that's where you can collect useful stuff and unlock characters. The game really wants you to play every day. You can see this with the daily section. For every consecutive day you play, you can collect bonus orbs, up to 50 per day. This is a big boost in unlocking characters. For even more daily chores, there's the Golds section. If you complete all of the Golds, you can collect 150 orbs. Doing this every day goes a long way to unlocking all of the characters. It takes about an hour to go through these objectives. There are other more long-term goals to achieve. These are related to your Game Center achievements. Basically, as you level up your crew, upgrade your gear, win battles, and complete other similar tasks, you can unlock these achievements and new crew members. However, it took me a while to realize that completing every last objective isn't absolutely necessary to enjoy the game. Most of the stuff that's worth getting is available in the shop. There you can find particles, gear, and other upgrades. That's what's especially unique about this game. Since there are so many characters, the game makes leveling so much easier. That's the significance of the shuttle section. You can send a team on an away mission. You don't exactly see what happens, they just come back later with rewards. This is where you can be strategic about how you play the game. If your objective is to level up your characters as fast as possible, then push through the main storyline missions as fast as possible. That way, your crew can level up while you sleep. You can have up to 3 away missions running at once. So, that's 12 characters that can be improved while you're away. However, if a character is on an away mission, they are not available for most other battles. This is the especially ridiculous part. You can take a character that has 0 experience and send it on the most difficult away mission. It's unlikely that they will get the bonus loot, but they'll get the main experience points. On Route 54, that's 20,000 experience points. This blasts a level 1 character all the way up to level 26. It's a slow process, but this can be repeated until they're level 99. There is another aspect to leveling up though, as there's a second leveling number. Crew can be leveled up with tokens. These are harder to get, which is why collecting orbs is important. Crew are given an overall power level score. This is a rough gauge to determine which battles are appropriate for a team. This value is also used in the main missions, as you can choose different paths. Some paths are inaccessible if you don't have a high enough score. There is an easy way around this limitation. As an example, if you don't have a high enough score in a particular profession, then put 2 or more characters from that profession on your team. The scores stack. The newly created Survival Holodeck Program missions are excellent for leveling up your characters and collecting loot. Apparently, this includes character tokens. In the Survival section, you're given a semi-random team. You might find yourself using characters that you had not considered. As you fight through the battles, there are many rewards. In particular, there are reward credits, which can be used to improve your chances of surviving in survival. I didn't have too much trouble here though, as characters like Scotty and Seven can make short work of the enemies. If you make it to certain checkpoints, you can add new crew to empty spots on your team. With Crusher on the team, the battles were quite easy. It wasn't exactly my dream team, but it was close enough to blast through the survival levels. This is a quick way to boost your characters. Also, apparently, it's endless. There is something unusual about all of these game options though. Many of them are not available if you don't enable multiplayer features. This is surprising, as I don't think many of them should require multiplayer. As an example, the shop doesn't need to be multiplayer. For a long time, I was playing without that option enabled. Instead, I saw the following message. Hello, we at Emerald City Games need to use your gameplay information, including your Game Center player ID, his save file ID, team rosters, medals, battle logs, item inventory, alliance actions, event resources, and operations to enable you to play online features. Multiplayer features won't work without this data. You could skip the multiplayer features and experience the majority of what Star Trek Legends has to offer. Although, to get the full experience out of the game, that feature is required. PvP, player versus player, is the main reason. I'm surprised at the intensity of turn-based combat. It's not even a live battle, you're fighting copies of other teams. But wow, if you think that mission battles were tough, PvP is insane. The main difficulty is not getting your characters killed in the first round. Speed is the critical character stat for PvP, but you can't use gear to improve character speed. That means certain characters dominate PvP. I didn't create a specific team for PvP. Instead, I used my PvE team, player versus enemy. I did alright, as the team helped me to reach the top 100 in Season 7. And considering the rewards, the effort simply wasn't worth it. What was that team? Well, it's based on the main question of this video, Kirk versus Picard. Who did I pick for command? Well, in the epic battle of Kirk versus Picard, I picked Janeway. She's very good in this game. Most characters have a main attack, but she has 3 special abilities that really help a lot. The first skill is Red Alert. This prevents your team from being demoralized. Little chevrons appear next to the character's health. If a character reaches -4 morale, they're out of the battle. That's why opening up with Red Alert is a nice boost. It totally disrupts any attempt to demotivate your team. It only lasts for 3 turns, but most battles are over in 3 turns. The added benefit of increasing the chance to do critical damage is also very nice. That means that everyone on the team fights better. That includes Janeway, which is especially important for round 2. Defensive Pierce does 200% damage to all enemies. Sometimes this is enough to wipe out an entire group of enemies, but if not, the remaining enemies are stricken with a defense down penalty. If the enemies are still standing, Focused Fire can also do a lot of damage. Everyone on the team attacks the other team randomly. The +2 morale is nice too. When your characters have high morale, they're more likely to assist their teammates with an extra attack. This can do a lot of damage. The only downside to Janeway is that she can be killed quickly, which leads to the second character on my dream team, 7 of 9. She's my pick for Engineer. Surprisingly, 7 only has 3 skills, but 2 are really powerful. We Will Adapt adds a major shield, and it removes many negative effects from allies, such as wounds or attack penalties. The shield can be added in the first round, so it dramatically reduces the pressure on healing. Missions are endurance rounds, so it's critical to protect the main health bar. Shields add a second health bar, which safely absorb a lot of damage. 7 can also deal a lot of damage with her Omega Destabilization attack. It does 300% tech damage to one enemy, and 150% tech damage to all other enemies. This attack also causes skill lock on the main target, which disables all skills except the main one. But usually, the main target is obliterated by this attack, as it does an insane amount of damage. While not as dramatic, 7's phaser rifle does fairly standard damage too, but it also has the chance to purge many positive boosts, including shields. That's the downside of relying on shields. They can be purged. That's why I picked Dr. Beverly Crusher as my medic. This was a really tough choice, as McCoy is really good. However, McCoy only has one heal. With Crusher, you don't have to make moral decisions of who lives and who dies. You can just heal the whole team, all at once, with her Dermal Regenerator ability. She also has the Medical Tricorder technique, which can dramatically reduce the defense of a single target. This can be useful for battling boss enemies. But the main highlight of Crusher is the Sterilization Field effect. It's a super boost for the team. First, shields can stack, so with Crusher and Seven on the same team, that's a lot of defense. Cleanse is great too, especially in the third round, as it removes a lot of the negative effects that have been accumulated so far. The Red Alert bonus is nice, but redundant, as Janeway already used it. However, Crusher's +1 morale stacks with Janeway's +2. That gives the entire team full morale. There's also a personal preference to these choices. If I was injured in the Star Trek universe, which doctor would I want to treat me? McCoy is good. He's like a combat medic, but he doesn't have the bedside manner of Crusher. Also, in this game, McCoy makes too many grunting sounds, and I don't like the animation for the hypospray. The Doctor, also known as the Emergency Medical Hologram, was a tough choice, but he doesn't have a standard attack. That makes him an odd choice for Janeway. With Janeway's focused fire attack, the Doctor just heals instead. Again, bedside manner is another issue. Both Crusher and the Doctor are exceptional healers, but Crusher just seems nicer. Actually, Crusher kinda has a disappointed motherly persona in this game, with her constant statement of, "I wish you didn't make me do that," and this is when she shoots a rock. For the security role, it's really a no-brainer, at least for the PvE missions. Worf is incredible in this game. He has 4 very good skills. First, his main attack is pretty standard, but it has a 50% chance to wound. This effect does additional damage to the character whenever it's their turn. Next, his Klingon battle cry is a taunt. This causes all of the enemies to attack Worf. This is great for protecting the more delicate members of your team. However, it has a far more important use. With Worf's next skill, he can take an offensive posture and counter-attack. This is amazing at doing extra damage. Plus, this technique includes a major attack up bonus. Very nice. This combo is very useful early in the game, when McCoy is probably your only healer. If Worf is the only one taking damage, then it's not too hard to choose which character to heal. However, if Worf takes too much damage, then he could be killed, and then the team will be at a serious disadvantage. That's why it's a good idea to give Worf your best particles, such as a shield or health regeneration. For battles that last longer, Klingon Fury does amazing damage, 405% normally, or 600% damage to a wounded enemy. This is great for blasting through defenses, such as cover. If you're not sure what all of the game terms mean, then press the letter I button to bring up the glossary. The major downside to Worf is that he's a green character. He really should be legendary, but he's a starting character. McCoy has the same penalty. That's why I think there should be a quest to upgrade Worf and McCoy to legendary status. If those two are not legendary in their professions, then no one is legendary. Some missions require a science officer. I was surprisingly disappointed here. For a game about science fiction, the science characters seem kinda weak to me. They certainly have benefits in PvP, as scan is a significant penalty in battle, as is Purge. However, for the story-based missions, I'd rather just get rid of the enemies as soon as possible. Spock is actually pretty good at that, as he can use the Vulcan Nerve Pinch combined with Mind Meld for a quick -4 morale. If it lands, that instantly eliminates a single enemy. Tricorder Wide Scan can scan all of the enemies, but it looks like he's taking a picture. Everyone smile, cheese! Meanwhile, Data sports a disturbing backhand. I had a good laugh the first time I saw the android backhand attack. Stun is a powerful offensive attack. However, it only lands 50% of the time for Data. His other two skills are Logical Paradox and Tricorder Disable. These are strong abilities, but they show up later in the fight. That's why I was disappointed when I would see a mission that required a science officer. Spock and Data still make my top 10 characters list though, so I suppose I should answer the main question of this video: Kirk or Picard? Who is better? I pick Kirk. He's simply the best captain in Star Trek. Without him, there is no Star Trek. But here, in this game, his orbital strike attack is just awesome. The problem is that orbital strike appears later in the battle, and Kirk appeared later in the game, so I picked Janeway, and she was impressive. It's a similar question: if you had to pick which captain to work for, which one would you pick? I figure I'd be okay with Kirk, as long as I don't wear red. In this game, there are 3 different versions of Picard, and I don't like any of them. Instead, I like the simplicity of Janeway. Would I want to be on Voyager though, with Janeway as captain? That's a tough one. I'm thinking probably not. That one ship got into a lot of trouble. I think that the responsibility of getting the crew home against seemingly impossible obstacles really wore her down. However, it's that experience that seems appropriate for the missions in this game. So, the natural next question is, what about Sisko? I don't really like Deep Space Nine. While it was nice to see a massive multi-season storyline, it was too dystopian to me. Star Trek is best when it's optimistic towards the future. DS9 is too gritty. It's where the franchise started to stray from the winning formula. So we have 7 of the top 10: Janeway, Seven, Crusher, Worf, Spock, Data, and Kirk. Who's number 8? Well, I like the Gorn. Again, I don't want to ruin the story, but to vaguely summarize, because of what happened with the story, he can be on my team. The Gorn does massive damage. Smash, Charge, and Boulder Toss are all just pure attack skills. A more reliable stun is especially brutal. Using the Amplify Force particles with the Gorn makes him especially tough in PvP, as that's a gain of 25% attack for the first round of combat. That's actually where Picard can be very useful, as he has the Make It So skill, which commands the Gorn to attack. It also includes the Major Attack Up and Major Critical Chance Up bonuses. That's a lot of damage. That's where this game can be a lot of fun. It may not be perfectly balanced, but there is a lot of strategy to be found in the design of your team and the particles that you can pick for your team. At number 9, I like Scotty. He has a solid array of skills. As an opener, he has a powerful area attack. He has a nice +2 morale boost, and he has shields. At number 10, I like Chekhov. He has 2 powerful attacks, and he has shields. The Russian Gambit skill is a powerful opener, as Chekhov has high speed. There are some other characters that I use, but that's roughly my top 10. It can change based on the scenario. Even though the basic premise of this game is easy to learn, there's a lot going on to keep it interesting. This game is a lot of fun. It's especially entertaining to play it from a mobile phone. The touchscreen controls make it feel even more like Star Trek. It's crazy to think about what kind of technology we have today compared to what was available when Star Trek was first aired. That's why Star Trek is important. It inspires people to think big. It encourages professionalism and exceptionalism. Star Trek is about people, many different kinds of people, being the best in their jobs. So, if you've played Star Trek Legends, what's your favorite team? Try to give it a catchy name too. As an example, all the Blue Starfleet characters could be called the Lower Decks. Here's an experimental team build that I didn't get to try yet. It's called Team of Motivation. Kirk, Worf, Data, and Sisko. They all have fairly early morale down skills that hit all enemies. It's theoretical, but that's an entertaining aspect of the game. Through trial and error, you get to see what works and what doesn't. You get to learn. That's really appropriate here, as that's the main idea behind science.